Hey everyone, Cinephile Mike is here. Happy Halloween again. Here is your treat. Day 68 of Oscar Rewind coming to you a day early. Another international horror flick. So if you're looking for something great to watch home tonight on Halloween, maybe this is the one. You're here on Oscar Rewind, my bi-weekly series of videos that reflects and recognizes the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. As always, I'll be discussing the awards history for the film, the box office information, the critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. You can find older episodes of Rewind here on the YouTube channel. You can head to my website, cinephilemike.com, to search my whole catalog of content. But before I jump in and before you click away, make sure you click that subscribe button, click that like button, and join in on all this cinematic goodness that's coming. All right. So for part two of your double episode drop on Halloween, I am discussing Warner Brother Pictures' The Orphanage, or in its native Spanish, El Orfanato. Written by Sergio G. Sanchez and directed by J.A. Bayona, this psychological horror film was released not too long before today's other movie I talked about, Let the Right One In. The Orphanage was released in the winter of 2007 domestically, with international releases scattered from the fall of 2007 through November 2008. And yet, even in a smaller window than Let the Right One In, this one was a massive box office success. With a reported budget of approximately $4.8 million, the film made more than that at the domestic box office alone, taking in $7,161,284. And that is nothing to speak of the international take for the film, which amounted to $71,477,703, which by the end of its run showed this film sitting with a total successful take, of $78,638,987. Not bad. Now, while this one didn't score as high on the critical or audience score as Let the Right One In, it didn't fare too badly. The Orphanage comes in with an 87% critical rating, being made up of 180 reviews, and an 86% popcorn meter, so not that far below the other one, pulled from over 50,000 audience responses. So, why another horror film on Rewind? Well, it's Halloween. Why would I not? But this one, not the cinematography, this one we're here for the director. Prior to this, short film and music video director J.A. Bayona made his feature film debut with this flick that was produced by Oscar winner and beloved artist Guillermo del Toro. While Bayona himself was not directly nominated for the Oscar this year, his film, based on a true story, Society of the Snow, the newest iteration of the Uruguayan rugby team's survivalist tale in the Andes, was nominated for not just the Best International Feature Film, but was also nominated for Best Achievement in Makeup and Hairstyling. And so the country, Spain, which is tagged for the film, usually recognizes the director is who goes up when the award is won. So, Bayona, there's some degrees of Kevin Bacon way that connected for this year's Rewind. And it's, again, who doesn't want to talk about horror films as we're here at Halloween? And you know what? We don't want to take away from the Orphanage's awards journey either, which had quite a fun one. This film was a nominee for Best Foreign Language Film at the Critics' Choice Awards, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, the Goya Awards, and various other film festivals. It was also a Cannes Film Festival nominee for First Time Bayona. He was nominated for the Golden Camera Award. Now, the most successful for this film was at the Goya Awards, which is Spain's version of the Oscars, where the Orphanage received 14 nominations, winning half of them, 7, for Best New Director for Bayona, Best Original Screenplay for Sanchez, Best Production Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyles, Best Sound, Best Visual Effects, and Best Production Manager. Quite a nice little run. And usually we don't get that on horror films or psychological films, so it's nice to see when we can break the mold from the drama or the biopic. The Orphanage takes us to just that, an orphanage in Spain. We meet a young girl named Laura who lives there, surrounded by various other children who, in many cases, are infirmed or unwell. But then we quickly see within the first few minutes that she is adopted and she leaves. And then we do a time jump. We're about 30 years later or so to present day 2000, well, not present day today, present day 2007 for the film. And now in adulthood, played by Belén Rueda, she has moved back to this orphanage with her loving and supportive husband, Fernando, played by Carlos Sanchez Rivera, and their son Simon, played by Roger Princep. She plans to reopen the orphanage as a home for disabled children. It's been closed for years, and bring back what it was to her, a home for children. So as they're getting underway to reopen, there's a knock at the door, and a social worker who goes by the name of Benina, played by Montserrat Carula, arrives and brings certain information to light, much of which is about Laura's son, which she already knew. See, Simone was adopted by Laura and Fernando when he was a baby, and when he was born, we're informed that he was also born with infected with the HIV virus. So they didn't want to tell him this information. He's 7 years old. They were raising him as their own child. But this intrusion by Benigna, who's now on the scene, and a series of other factors do unfortunately bring the situation where Laura has to sit down and have this conversation with Simone, which is not easy because he is a little prone to a little too much of a history playing with imaginary friends. And once he discovers who he is and learns this history, it creates some tension along with some other moments that creates some tension with Lauren Simone. To say the least, nothing of his new imaginary friend Tomas, who in some scenes in ghostly form is played by Oscar Casas, and nobody sees him, but Simone believes Tomas is there for him, and that's his best friend, will help him with this adjustment. And, he's not that excited about the orphanage reopening, but he's there, he's with his parents, but there's now a tension. So we move to the opening, a party for the reopening of the orphanage, and while here, Simone goes missing, and nobody is able to find him. They are not sure if Benigna came back and abducted him. Did something else happen? Did he just run away? And then we have another time jump. We time jump 6 months. Laura and her husband are heartbroken. They don't know what happened to their son, but Laura is convinced that they can get him back. And then we will follow as pieces of this mystery get revealed. We see there's more to Benina than when we first met her. We see there's more to imaginary friend Thomas, who may not be as imaginary as we believe, which will ultimately put Laura in a situation where she has to time travel in the sense of not really time traveling, but create an earlier time in order to figure everything she can do because she just wants to bring Simone home. Despite the, kind of tensions this puts on her relationship. And, this is a horror film and a drama, so many genres this film actually fits in. And look, I have to say, it doesn't necessarily end happily for everyone. And that's heartbreaking. I won't say who is where. And, that's what I have to say is the really fascinating thing about this film. While there are a couple, of small pockets of attempts at, jump scares or tense moments, which I have to say, Fernando Velasquez himself, nominee for Best Original Score at the Goya Awards, he has this beautiful score that really plays with your mind because Sanchez is very clever at giving us little kernels of the mystery. We're never quite sure how things are going to go. And it's very thought provoking, this psychological film. You really have to hone in on what's being said because we don't get huge information dumps. There are some, but you really have to follow along with what's happening. This is a thinking man's horror film, a thinking person's horror film, not a, one for quick jump scares and gore. That's not what we have here. So that might not be everyone's cup of tea. But if you want a good think piece, this is it. Rueda as Laura gives us very strong performance and is able to break your heart as we see her play this grieving mother who just wants her son back. When with the husband's energy, Kaio gives a nice underplay to kind of balance out these moments. And oh, I almost forgot another performer I didn't mention in my recap, but while Laura's on her journey to find her son back, she brings in a medium named Aurora, who is played by Geraldine Chaplin. Yes, for those of you that have been following me on Rewind, we talked about her earlier when she actually played a role in the biopic Chaplin about her father, which was the Robert Downey Jr. film from the 90s. But here in '07's The Orphanage, she plays the medium who gives Laura some hints as to what she can do to maybe find Simone, kind of channeling some of that Lin Shay insidious energy and vibe quite nicely. I mean, look, Bayona knows his niche. She's had great success in films with children in dire circumstances, The Impossible, A Monster Calls, even Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. And, he has a gift for making, even in Society of the Snow, making disturbing things that might not always have a happy ending at least seem somewhat palatable. Not that I'm saying everyone's going to necessarily gravitate towards this, but, it's nice. And especially with this film, he doesn't go for creepy tactics. It's just more like let's play this out. Let's slowly go along. Again, The Orphanage is a solid, well written 4-star film for me. Is it for you? Well, again, if you're sitting at home tonight trying to figure out what you should watch, why don't you grab a glass of your favorite beverage, catch The Orphanage, or rewatch The Orphanage, which is streaming as of this recording and posting currently on Paramount Plus. So, there you have it. A double dose treat of solid foreign horror flicks on Oscar Rewind for your Halloween. Halloween! Next week, I'm going to get a little political. How could I not as we enter November? And also, as you know, Rewind Season 1 is starting to come a close because award Season 3 is almost here. As always, if you like what you heard here, please click the subscribe button, like the channel, spread the word. You can follow me on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy watching. Until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.